In the southern United States, wild boars have become one of the most economically damaging invasive species. With rapid reproduction, aggression, and a habit of rooting and destroying crops, invading residential areas in search of food, wild boars cause $2.5 billion in damages each year, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. In addition, many tragic traffic accidents have occurred when wild boars tried to cross roads. To control the population explosion of this species, large-scale hunting campaigns have been launched. In the US, wild boars are an invasive species and may be hunted, but will hunters be penalized if they violate hunting regulations? Keep watching our video to find out. To reduce this problem, communities here use guns to hunt wild boar. Hunting wild boar with guns is one of the most intense and brutal challenges a hunter can face. These animals are fast, strong, and intelligent, so taking them down requires more than just pulling the trigger. The first key to success is choosing the right gun. Most experienced hunters prefer a high-powered rifle like the .308, .30-06, or .270, which have enough power to stop a charging wild boar. In close encounters, a shotgun with slugs can cause serious damage, especially in thick brush where visibility is limited and action happens fast. Timing is a key factor for a successful hunt. Wild boars are most active at dawn and right before dusk, so these are the ideal hours to move.
Oh, he hit him!
During these times, hunters should pay attention to signs like hoof prints, fresh mud, and rooted soil, indicating where wild boars have fed or wallowed. Carefully following these signs will lead you into the heart of wild boar territory, where you need to stay silent and alert. Always move slowly, use the wind to your advantage, and stop often to scan your surroundings. Wild boars may be closer than you think. Shot placement is another critical factor that separates a clean takedown from a dangerous chase. Aiming just behind the front shoulder targets the heart and lungs, resulting in a quick and effective kill. For more experienced marksmen, a headshot can drop the animal instantly, but it demands perfect aim and a steady hand. Avoid shooting too far back on the body. A wounded wild boar can escape into thick brush, where it becomes far more dangerous. Remember, these animals can weigh over 100 pounds and won't hesitate to charge if they feel threatened. One of the most effective but underrated techniques is still hunting. This involves moving slowly through dense forest or brush, using the terrain to cover your approach. Instead of waiting for the boar to come to you, you move quietly and patiently toward it, always ready to fire. This is a test of patience and awareness, but it often brings you within 30 meters of the target, where a well-placed shot makes all the difference. A good hunter doesn't rush, he listens for movement, watches the shadows, and waits for the perfect moment to strike.
This is the angle that Michelle had.
For those hunting in open areas or farmland, ambush-style hunting near trails or watering spots can also be deadly effective. Wild boars are creatures of habit and often use the same trails to move between feeding areas. By finding a clear shooting lane and using trees or natural cover to hide, you can line up the perfect shot without being seen. In these situations, having a steady rest like a bipod or a tree limb can mean the difference between a clean takedown and a missed opportunity. In the end, wild boar hunting is about accuracy, timing, and respect for a powerful and dangerous animal. Another method used here is helicopter hunting. Hunting wild boars from helicopters is one of the most effective and aggressive ways to control rapidly growing wild boar populations in hard-to-reach areas.
Light 'em up.
With wild boars destroying farmland and causing millions in damages, this method allows hunters to cover vast terrain quickly and eliminate large herds before they scatter. The process begins with tight coordination. An experienced pilot flies low over fields and brush, tracking wild boar herds from above, while the shooter is securely equipped in an open door, ready to fire at moving targets below. It's a high-speed, high-risk hunt that demands intense focus and perfect teamwork. Using the right gun is very important when hunting from the air. Most shooters use lightweight semi-automatic rifles like the AR-15, chambered in .223 or .300 blackout, equipped with red dot sights for quick aiming. Unlike scoped rifles used for long-distance shooting, red dot sights allow for fast and precise aiming at close and unpredictable angles. Large-capacity magazines, usually 20 to 30 rounds, are essential, as reloading mid-hunt can waste precious time. Every second matters when herds of wild boars are running at full speed across plains and weaving through trees and brush.
Sorry, it's hard trying to set her up for a left and a right.
Shooting from a moving helicopter is nothing like shooting from the ground. You must anticipate the boar's movement and lead your shot slightly to match its speed and direction. This requires practice, timing, and smooth trigger control. Instead of aiming for the head, which is a small, constantly shifting target, experienced shooters aim just behind the shoulder, targeting the lungs or heart for a quick and clean kill. These vital zones offer a larger target and are easier to hit from difficult angles in the air. Success depends not only on marksmanship but also on communication and strategy. The shooter and pilot are in constant contact via headsets, sharing position updates, reloads, and terrain obstacles. Smart pilots know how to use sunlight, wind, and landscape features to drive wild boars into open spaces, giving the shooter better chances. Flights are often planned over feeding zones, trails, and damaged crop fields, areas where boars are most active. When done right, helicopter hunting is not only highly effective, it's one of the most exciting and unforgettable experiences a hunter can have. So between these two methods, which do you think is better? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to join us on more hunts. Deep in the heart of Florida, one of America's most dangerous invaders lurks: wild alligators. These cold-blooded giants do not just stalk waterway, they invade our lives, slipping into swimming pools, prowling backyards, and threatening pets and livestock. With damages exceeding $1 million each year, the state has been forced to fight back, partnering with elite wildlife hunters to reclaim the swamps. So how have the states worked to reduce the harm these creatures bring to local communities? Let's explore the answer right now. Armed with rifles and hard-earned hunting licenses, hunters enter Florida's unforgiving swamps to face a predator that knows no fear. Each hunter carries a rifle built for this battle, the Remington Model 700, firing .30-06 Springfield rounds. Famous for its precision and destructive power, it is the only reliable line of defense against a 1,000-pound reptile armored in scales, with jaws that can crush bone in an instant.
Hit him.
Hit him.
Moving silently across waterlogged ground, hunters choose the hiding spots of the monsters. Days of pursuit lead to narrow rivers choked with reeds, where alligators surface like ghosts from the depths. A sudden pair of eyes glints above the water. The rifle lowers, the scope locks on. A single shot echoes through the swamp. Water erupts as the predator rides, then sinks into silence. Even after a perfect kill, the tension lingers, because in these waters, every hunt is a duel with death. the swamp terrain only adds to the danger. Flooded marshes and shifting channels hide threats beneath every ripple. Hunters rely not only on skill but on technology: thermal imaging binoculars to pierce the fog, motion sensors hidden along the banks, and sensitive microphones that detect the faintest splash. In this shadowed world, the hunter must remain patient and silent, waiting for the king of the swamp to reveal itself. These kings have left their mark on Florida's countryside. Massive alligators, some stretching over 13 feet, have crawled from ponds and rivers to strike livestock and stalk the edges of human property. A single attack can take down cattle in seconds, and one unchecked predator can cause thousands of dollars in losses.
Alligator. One more.
When a well-aimed shot lands just below the eye, the softest point of its skull, the threat ends instantly. Every successful shot spares farms from destruction and keeps deadly encounters from reaching homes and families. But most hunts are a true test of endurance, lasting 8 to 12 hours under the punishing sun. Alligator hunting is limited to daylight for a reason: once darkness falls, the rules change. Night turns the swamp into the predator's domain. Depth and distance vanish, the water becomes black glass, and every movement is a guess. One misstep can turn the hunter into prey. That is why, as the sun sets, even the most experienced marksmen retreat. Sometimes, after hours of waiting, the ultimate reward appears: a colossal alligator basking on the grassy bank, the silent ruler of its territory. Hunters aim at the small cavity below its eye, the only weak point on an otherwise impenetrable skull. The rifle cracks, shattering the stillness of the swamp. A tail thrashes in defiance, then the beast goes still. One bullet, one perfect shot, and a prehistoric predator is brought down by patience, precision, and power. Rifles allow hunters to strike from over 200 yards, their raw power capable of piercing even the thickest skulls. Hunting is strictly regulated. Licensed hunters may only operate in designated areas and must report every detail, time, method, and location. These measures ensure that while predators are controlled, the balance of the swamp remains intact. What do you think of this dangerous hunt? Could it truly help the people here reduce the threats they face? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to see more of our most thrilling videos. Wild donkeys have long since crossed their original ecological boundaries, becoming a serious threat in many semi-desert and arid steppe regions. With their rapid reproduction and high adaptability, they not only compete fiercely with native livestock for water and food, but also destroy natural vegetation, causing soil erosion and imbalance in the native ecosystem. In particular, many herds of wild donkeys roam uncontrolled and often spill onto the roads, obstructing traffic and even leading to serious accidents for local people. Given the damage to the environment, agriculture, and traffic safety, hunting wild donkeys with guns has become a necessary measure to control the population, reduce ecological pressure, and protect people's livelihoods. The hunting ground was in a semi-arid area of Namibia's Central Highlands, where donkey herds often move south during the changing seasons in search of new food. Coming to a large, open area with scorched grass, we found traces of fresh dung, indicating that the herd had recently passed through. I had brought my Winchester Model 70, 308 Win, a highly accurate rifle, well suited to long-range shooting at moving targets. A donkey was foraging alone. To avoid being detected, I lay face down on the ground, placing the rifle in front of me. Pointing the muzzle straight at the donkey's chest, a shot rang out, shattering the silence of the forest. I had conquered it. A few hundred yards further in, we began to hear the faint sound of hooves hitting the ground, very faint but insistent. On a gentle rise, I knelt down and trained my scope on the sound. And then there they were, a herd of about 8 wild donkeys, nibbling on some low brush on the edge of the mountainside. One of the herd was a large, sturdy animal, with dark gray fur and erect ears that flapped like antennae. It was the leader, usually the one to move ahead and react first when it sensed danger. I decided to stick close to its path, because if the leader fell, the entire herd would panic and split apart. I adjusted my aim, took a deep breath, and pulled the trigger. The shot rang out dry, followed by a chilling silence. The donkey was hit just behind the shoulder, staggered a few steps, and collapsed. The herd immediately scattered, running in all directions, leaving a trail of dust in its wake. One of the other shooters fired again, taking down another donkey as it veered away from the mound. Do you think this is an effective way to control the encroaching wild donkeys? Leave your thoughts in the comments below so we can hear from you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any more exciting content. In the days that followed, we continued south, through rocky terrain and sun-scorched grasslands. Wild donkeys travel in packs and are good at hiding in arid environments, but that makes them dangerous when the packs grow unchecked. In some areas, wild donkeys have been reported to encroach on native Soro habitat, reducing the survival of many rare native species.
I see him. Fire at will.
Mikey's just out, gonna have a go at this. Take your time. Yes. Maybe we should take these two to start. Good shot. Yeah, that's fatal. Right in the heart.
The African sun poured down on the dry savanna, where a herd of wild donkeys grazed silently among the sparse thorn bushes. The hunter hid in the dense acacia bushes, holding his rifle tightly in his hand, his eyes following the leader with his large stature and high-eared perch. A light wind blew by, stirring up dust, obscuring the hunter's slow movements as he approached the ideal shooting spot.
That's the donkey. Hit the donkey.
Only about 60 meters away, he stopped, held his breath, and put his hand on the trigger. A loud bang rang out, and the donkeys scattered in panic in the dust. The leader, hit by the bullet, staggered a few steps and fell, its forehooves kicking up amid angry and wild screams. The scene was both fierce and depicted the harshness of life in a land where humans and nature are always in an uncompromising confrontation. Two wild donkeys stood in the middle of a scorched grassland, quietly chewing dry leaves under the harsh African desert sun. A gentle wind slanted along the slope, which was favorable for not carrying the scent of humans. The two donkeys moved side by side, each step cautiously, but they clearly did not sense the lurking danger. I adjusted my sights, aiming at the larger one, which seemed to be the leader. The gunshot rang out, tearing the quiet air. It collapsed immediately, its legs twitching in the dust. The remaining donkey panicked and turned to run, but only managed to run a few dozen meters before the second bullet hit its shoulder, causing it to collapse with a long, terrified neigh. The ambush took place in just a few dozen seconds, fast, clean, and decisive. As the sun set behind the red hills, the hunt ended in silence and dust lingered on the cracked ground. Although it was only a short hunt, it clearly showed the severity of the invasion by wild donkeys. They not only destroyed crops and competed with livestock for water, but also severely degraded the local ecosystem. Using rifles to control the population is not simply an act of hunting, but part of an effort to protect the land and the ecological balance. However, donkeys are not dangerous animals, so hunting must be strictly controlled to not affect the natural ecosystem.